Good morning and welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us this morning. If you're watching us live, thanks for that. If you are watching us later on our website, we upload these shows to www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. We have audio and video versions there. Appreciate you watching us there. If you are, welcome to my home. I am, in fact, staying at home, as I was told. We will be venturing out, myself, David Gray, and Mr. Rob DeArmond, if the situation merits itself, practicing appropriate social distancing to perform interviews and that kind of thing, if we need to do them in person. Otherwise, we're going to be doing them via phone. Did a lot of talking over the phone over the weekend. We're going to jump into that in a minute. We do know that there are some folks who are essential employees and essential critical jobs that will be going to work today. Right now, you're looking at some traffic. It's relatively clear, of course, because no school going on or anything like that. But you are looking at some delays at 190 4H Club Road and River Road, right on the western side of Denham Springs, and delays at Jubin and 190. So please keep that in mind. It's currently 70 degrees, 83 degrees is your high, 67 your overnight low. Going to be looking at some cloudy morning, but it doesn't look like you're going to have any rain, but you are looking at some sunshine this afternoon, so it should turn into a pretty day. Let's jump into it. Of course, we're going to be talking about coronavirus today. One of the big things that happened yesterday was kind of a bombshell announcement from the governor, although it was once he made the announcement that he was going to do a press conference at 2 p.m., relatively sure that he was going to put the stay-at-home order on the docket. Now, it changes a few things, but it's really not as bad as social distancing, or excuse me, it is as bad. It's just a little step up from social distancing. One of the big deals is trying to make sure that those who are not critical or essential are going to work. And of course, they're working in D.C. to try to put out an economic sort of benefit package to get out to small businesses, larger businesses, and the individual worker. A lot of people are hitting the job market right now because of this, and it's tough. And the governor knows it's tough. The Senate, the House know it's tough. But of course, there's some political stuff going on there. We're not going to get into that. But you're looking at what is called a stay-at-home order, which means you can do the following. You can still go to the grocery store. You can still go to the pharmacy. You can still go to the doctor if that is necessary. A couple of the things that you shouldn't do. I do also want to say that you can go pick up from restaurants. It's been determined that is not a big-time passer of coronavirus or COVID-19. So please remember your local restaurants. A lot of them are still in operation. We're trying to put a list together ourselves, talking with the chamber and that sort of thing, trying to get a list together of who's still operating and who isn't, and who is delivering food, and who would also have curbside service. And of course, you still have your drive-thrus for a lot of these restaurants. What you can't do, or what you shouldn't do, is visit loved ones in the hospital or nursing homes. You don't need to go visit friends unless it's absolutely necessary. You do not need to go to work unless you are part of the essential or critical infrastructure. For a lot of larger employers, now there was a lot of confusion here. There are a list on our website. You're looking at www.livingstonparishnews.com/coronavirus. There's a list of sort of the essential and critical infrastructure sectors where people are still going to go to work. And in a lot of instances, some people are going to go to work and some people aren't. One of the things the governor said is that if you are employed by a larger company, it would be good for you to check with your direct supervisor to see if you should come to work or should work from home. Now, for smaller businesses, if you can, there are still some functions that must be performed, like payroll, maintenance on the building, that sort of thing. You're still allowed to do that. You're just mandated to appropriate social distancing, of course, and you're also looking to keep 10 or less in the office at any given time. And of course, people need to be checking in about where they've been and if they're feeling poor or feeling badly physically. So please keep that in mind. This is a stay-at-home order. As you can see, we are practicing it at the Livingston Parish News. You might see a car or two up there every now and again as we head up there to print certain things in that. But for the most part, we are working from home we'd appreciate it if you did as well, because of course we're trying to do what they call flatten the curve. That means we're trying to send fewer people to the hospital at any given time. Of course, it was on Friday, it was stated that the curve right now is looking a lot like Italy. Actually, we have surpassed Italy, and Italy as a country, we have surpassed them in terms of total number of cases as they appear. We are leading the world in terms of per capita cases here in Louisiana. We're up to 837, 3 in Livingston Parish, and that includes 13 statewide deaths. There are no recovery numbers yet. It takes several weeks for recovery, plus you have to test negative twice because, and we had someone ask this when we posted the story about recovery over the weekend. Somebody said, well, you have to get tested once for positive, but tested twice for negative. That is correct. Because this is the novel coronavirus, and because it is a virus and has a chance to mutate, you have to test negative twice just to make sure that you did not pick up a mutation. This happened a lot in Asia, and it has happened in California too. People are testing negative, they're letting them go home, and then they're picking up another strand of the virus, and they end up back in the hospital. So please keep that in mind. This is a virus, it mutates, that sort of thing. And, a lot of this is due to folks not following the guidelines for mitigation of this kind of disease, and that is no gatherings of 10 or more. Wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap and water. Sneeze into a tissue or into your elbow. It's the same with your cough. Cough into a tissue or your elbow, and disinfect your common surfaces, especially in your own home. If you're letting kids outside, please remember you don't know who they've been with. They could be bringing it inside. Best for them to go ahead and make sure they wash their hands immediately, get those clothes washed, and get them in the shower. And for older adults, if you are going to work, you should probably practice the same thing. You should be wiping the handles that you're using to go in and out of the house. You should be entering the home, washing your hands, washing your clothes, taking a shower. You just don't know what you've been introduced to as you've been out in the world. So please keep those things in mind. And please remember that you can care for your family during this time. You can take a walk. You can walk your pets. You can even receive deliveries. Just do not go to work unless you are critical infrastructure. Of course, that list is on www.livingstonparishnews.com/coronavirus. We do have a ton of information up there about what's going on here. And please remember that it's all free. Do not visit friends unless they need it. Visit loved ones in the hospital or the nursing home. Don't do that. A lot of those folks are already compromised. They're immunocompromised. The last thing you want to do is reintroduce the virus into that situation. So please keep that in mind. And you do not want to maintain less than 6 feet. So if you have to go into public, because of course you might have to go to the pharmacy, you might have to go to the doctor, you might have to go to the grocery store, probably going to have to go to one of 3 of those over the next 3 months. 3 weeks. This will last exactly 3 weeks from his mandate. So it will last until April 12th. Please remember, not 3 months, 3 weeks. April 12th is how long the stay-at-home order currently on the books will last. So please keep those things in mind. Please remember, the best thing you can do is reach out to your direct supervisor at work or the business owner or whomever you work for. Try to get some information on when it's best to go in, if you should go in, if you should work from home according to this new stay-at-home mandate. The idea being, of course, that we're trying to flatten the curve, trying to keep as few people in the hospital as possible at any given time. Right now, we're looking at some potentially critical overload of health infrastructure in Louisiana as we sort of fight this thing as the number of cases increase on a daily basis. Now, one of the things they are going to change is they used to provide updates for the cases at 9:30 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. They're changing that. It's only going to come out at 12 p.m. daily. Part of that is sort of a perspective on these numbers, and it's something that people need to understand. For a lot of these coronavirus cases, you're looking at people who, they already showed symptoms, right? And they already went and got tested. Some of them, of course, were healthcare workers that needed to get tested. And some of them were, like Sean Payton went to the Saints team doctor to get tested. But for a lot of these folks, they were already either going to the doctor or going to one of these drive-through sites and getting tested because they showed symptoms. Right now, you're looking at roughly 1 in 3 are testing positive for coronavirus. But again, 837 total cases, and that number just keeps going up. So in terms of a per capita deal, you're looking at this is growing rapidly. And that, of course, as mentioned, we are leading the world. That is a fact in terms of per capita cases in such a geographically isolated area. Of course, they tracked a lot of this back to Mardi Gras. So that's where a lot of this started, and that's how it happened to spread. And of course, the way these viruses spread is an exponential growth curve. So one person gives it to 2, 2 give it to 4, that sort of thing. That's why social distancing was the initial attempt. Now it's a stay-at-home deal. Please remember, this is also not quarantine. Quarantine is something completely different. It's what they did in China. And it's very intense. So that's a whole nother step entirely. Right now we're doing stay-at-home mandates. So please remember to stay at home, try to work from home, talk to your direct supervisor if you're not sure whether you should go into work or not. These schools are shut down after receiving a waiver over the weekend. Let me back up. The governor and the state Department of Education reached out to the feds seeking a waiver for this year's responsibility report. So that's end-of-year testing for the kids, which gives you end-of-year principal and teacher scores, which then are all aggregated into school scores. You will not get any of that this year because the federal government granted that waiver. So there will be no end-of-year testing this year for kids. The kids are supposed to return to school on April 20th. That would be a Monday. Of course, the stay-at-home mandate ends April 12th. So that's still in plenty of time. Of course, they are still recognizing spring break at the schools. So please keep that in mind. Now, if they return to school, it will be for academic instruction only. Of course, there will be no end-of-year testing as mentioned. Now, because of the stay-at-home order, the schools are effectively shut down. We're still talking with them on how they intend to continue to communicate with kids. One of the best things you can do is reach out to the teachers directly via email, which you can find via PowerSchool or on their websites, which are found at lpsb.org, or you can find them on the website for your individual school. We're going to see if that's the best way to get in touch with them as soon as we can get in touch with the schools. Now, that school shutdown also means that those lunch lines that they served last Wednesday, served about 1,400 people last Wednesday, not going to happen. They're just, because of social distancing, but also because of the amount of logistics that it takes to run them, they're shutting those down. So remember, school campuses are going to be shut down. The lunch lines that were supposed to happen Monday and Wednesday are shut down as well. There is a call with the Small Business Administration at 10 a.m. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We'll be part of the call. We are also a small business. It will be sponsored by LAB, the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. They'll be discussing some of the things that will be going on with regard to small business loans that'll be coming out. Of course, they're at a 3.75% interest rate. Congressman Garrett Graves has been talking with the SBA, trying to make sure that these are not duplication of benefits. They're not tied down by that, these SBA loans, because you would probably be looking at some grant funding, especially as part of that economic bolstering package that'll be coming out hopefully sometime in the coming weeks. We're not real sure. I do apologize, folks. My little home office corner is kind of dark, so I got a light over here. I'm going to have to get a fan or something because it's hot. I don't know how some of you people sit in front of these lights and stuff so often, but it's a little warm back here. But we're going to get that fixed. There's going to be a governor's roundtable with healthcare officials tonight from 7 to 8 p.m. You can find it on Louisiana Public Broadcasting. Of course, TV stations will probably pick it up. I'm not sure if Mr. David Gray will be going. He went to the announcement yesterday. However, we both will be watching if he can't go. Giving you live updates on that as well. We'll also have a story about what they talk about. But I'm sure that it'll be talking about flattening the curve, what are some of the things you can continue to do to stay safe and healthy, and of course a couple more things that you can do to try to keep your kids safe, try to keep your family safe, and why these mitigation numbers are necessary, sort of giving them a broader depth, more than I gave you this morning. So remember, that'll be on LPB. It'll probably be on your local news stations. That is tonight at 7 p.m. One last thing before we take a little run back around, just to give you some broad overview of the coronavirus. Tax day has been moved to July 15th. Please remember that. That is your tax deadline day. The state deadline of May 15th has not been moved as of yet. We will see if that changes sometime this week. We'll see if the governor continues to give these press conferences. And excuse me, I'm going to have a drink of water here. Oh, got to get the airflow in this little corner fixed up for tomorrow. I do apologize. So I want to remind folks that we're at 837 cases statewide, 3 in Livingston Parish. You're looking at 13 deaths so far. No recovery numbers yet, because you've got to have 2 negative tests. And testing is slow, but the 2 negative tests are because it is a mutating virus, and you have to have that second negative test to make sure that you did not recontract a different strain of the coronavirus. Also want to remind folks of the mitigation measures that are still in place outside of the stay-at-home, which is no gatherings larger than 10 people. Wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Sneeze or cough into a tissue or elbow. And disinfect common surfaces, especially within your home. Please remember, you can still go to the grocery store, the pharmacy, and the doctor's office if you need to. You can also still get takeout and delivery from restaurants that are still offering it here after the stay-at-home order. Please remember, the stay-at-home order is mostly about workers who are not part of non-critical infrastructure. The governor asked that if you're not sure if you are non-critical, you need to reach out to your direct supervisor if they have not gotten in touch with you already. One last time around with your traffic, relatively clear this morning. Of course, schools are still out. 190 4-H Club Road and River Road in Dim Springs experiencing a few delays as folks still trying to go into Baton Rouge as part of that critical infrastructure and sectors. Jubin and 190, some minor delays as well. It's currently 70 degrees. 83 degrees is your high. 67 your overnight low. You're looking at some morning clouds today, as well as some sunlight this afternoon. One last time, my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you joining us for the Livingston Parish News Morning Show as we discuss the coronavirus here on a Monday morning, March 23rd. Please remember, if you're watching us live, thanks for that. Please remember, we upload these shows to www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. We're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube once a week in print on Thursdays. That will continue. We have been told it is not it's not something that transfers the virus. We are also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. We have an app to go with that. We also want to remind folks that we have a webpage dedicated exclusively to coronavirus coverage. It's at www.livingstonparishnews.com/coronavirus. It is free. So please go check that out. We do hope you have a great day. We know that this is affecting some folks more than others. We do know that this is a difficult situation, especially for service industry workers, restaurant workers, that sort of thing. We got to stick with the game plan. We got to do what we can. We're all in this together as a state. We're going to be looking for that call at 10 a.m. to see what the Small Business Administration can do for the folks of Louisiana. And, of course, what the governor will say tonight. And we're going to be looking to try to flatten this curve and slow the growth of this virus down and get through it as quickly as possible. Hope you have a great day, and we will see you back here in the corner tomorrow morning.